Hello everyone, we hope you're doing well this evening/morning when you're watching this. This is the January podcast for us here at Pass the Controller. We have James, we have Chris, Alberto and Rob with us, and myself, Gabriella. This podcast is mainly going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch. You guys can read James's summary of the event in the description. We'll be covering as much as we can in this podcast this evening. And I'm sure we'll be covering some topics over the next few days, as well as the lead up to its worldwide launch on March the 3rd. So March the 3rd, that's the official release date that they have announced. Where do we begin? There's a lot to talk about and to cover. So mostly positive reviews of the conference itself and the actual console. We'll start with James. We'll just follow up on your summary of the event itself. Overall, what were your thoughts? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you're thinking of this event? Do you think it was executed well?
I think, considering that not a lot of people knew what to expect from this event, because Nintendo historically aren't necessarily the best at communicating themselves. I think that was the problem that they had, in particular with the Wii U. There was plenty of confusion around, was this a controller, was this a new console, all that sort of stuff. And the fact that they pulled this event off, albeit with a few kind of lackluster translators, but other than that, pretty technically well and fairly well balanced and stuff like that. I think it went down pretty well. I mean, certainly as I was kind of live tweeting along through the morning, it was 4 a.m. UK time, so it was
trooper.
It was early start. But yeah, I mean, there was plenty of buzz going on from the kind of usual outlets, but the kind of response from the people on chat and various places and stuff like that was kind of generally fairly optimistic. I think the trouble with these sorts of things is people always want more, and I'd rather that you have. They give you what they think that is ready at that certain point. That there wasn't. There was a few things that didn't get mentioned, which we'll get onto. But I think overall, pretty strong, solid showing. I'd say enough to make me pre-order it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Rob, what are your thoughts on the conference?
I don't know. I'm the only one who has a Wii U, aren't I? On the whole team, maybe in the whole world, I feel sometimes.
Designated Wii U gamer.
Designated idiot, however you want to put it. For me, I kind of feel like this is what the Wii U should have been, and because of that, I don't think I'm going to bother at launch, because the games that they announced, I played them already. I feel like. Right. I've played Splatoon. Splatoon 2 will be fun whenever it comes out, I'm sure.
But Mario it's got a 2 in it.
I've played that. That annoyed me as well. Why didn't they call it Splatoon?
Oh my god!
Just Splatoon 2 just sounds lazy.
The return of the Ploon.
And I can get Zelda when it comes out the same day on the Wii U. So I just feel like, for me at the moment, the games, the 1-2 Switch looks bad. Looks really bad. Like gimmick.
Yeah, we'll get onto that. We will get onto that in a second.
The boxing game as well. That just looks terrible to me as well. But I just feel like I've played these games on the Wii U, and some of them were good, but not good enough for me to keep turning it back on again. And I don't really know if the fact that I can, take it on the train with me is going to make any difference with the Switch. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like I just wanted a bit, like, I wanted something interesting, something new from them, and it doesn't really feel like that to me.
Right.
Honestly.
That's fair enough. I was thinking about that. It's like, I mean, we touched upon this briefly in the October podcast, because it was just announced. We didn't really know much about it. We knew that it was obvious that Nintendo were going down this sort of portability aspect of the console, but the actual specs itself, which we still aren't 100% on now, Because I haven't heard anything. I've been searching the
There's not
searching
been
the
a
web for the
lot.
spec.
There's not been a lot. Yeah, I think I've saw a few things as the announcement was coming out. People were sharing links and stuff like that. But yeah, I think there's certainly not been anything official. But I mean, it's not very Nintendo to go all guns blazing with that sort of detail anyway. So I wouldn't be. I'm not surprised by that, I have to say.
Well, you can't
that's
really
a good
brag
point.
about 4 gigs of RAM in this day and age. Like everything is 8 and up. So if you go, we have 4 gigs of RAM, what are you gonna do about it? People are gonna take you as a tablet. So they have to play.
when you've
What you
got
gonna do about it, Nintendo?
Yeah,
my
look at me,
phone.
I'm Reggie. By the way, that last bit on the live stream where they go to the American office and Miyamoto was playing, it was like, hey, look at this intern. I was like, this
That
is
was
so
well
awkward.
random.
It was
No,
so
was
awkward,
the
it
whole.
was so good.
Oh man, I agree. It was really bad, wasn't it? It was bad. It was like
Chris,
Chuckle
tell
Brothers.
us your thoughts.
I am. I'm not really into portable gaming myself, but it looks and I may be a little big. I mean, if you think of like the DS, the sort of the ultimate handheld, it looks a lot bigger and clunkier. But as a home console, it's too small to ever compete with the big boys in terms of power. So it's sort of like you get the worst of both worlds. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't too impressed, but I think it sort of depends on the games, really.
I agree with that. If they didn't show Legends of Zelda, they didn't show Mario, sort of 2 main games of the star charts, I would say, of Nintendo, then I don't think it would have had the same appeal. But we will talk about the games a little bit later. We'll talk about the price. So the price has been released. So it's going to be 280 for the UK, 299 for US. Is this reasonable? Do you think this is a reasonable price for Nintendo? Do you think it's a bit of a cop out? What are your thoughts about it?
I think it compares reasonably well. Thinking about it in lining up against the kind of other consoles on the market and stuff like that. Particularly when you think about the the hardware base that they're going for is kind of similar to that. I mean, there's been a lot of talk prior to this about how there are similarities with the NVIDIA Shield in terms of the architecture and the technical specs and stuff like that. But I think Nintendo's brand power alone, we've seen, the sort of power of it with Pokemon Go earlier last year, about just how a simple concept can take that, can take something to a new height by just having the right face on it, sort of thing. So I think from that point of view, compares pretty well. I had a quick thought from Sam, actually, who's unfortunately cannot be with us, but he's fine.
I'm literally just looking at his impressions now, actually. Yeah.
And so he was saying that it's may realistically be overpriced for the hardware that you're actually getting, as in the the power and stuff, but comparatively it's an attractive price point. And I think people were expecting, I heard plenty of people kind of, particularly in America saying like 200, 250. If they'd managed to get the price down that low, then I mean, to be honest, they would have been selling at a loss, like, by far. But I think that might have shifted a lot more systems. But I suppose it's difficult to really tell until we start to get a bit closer to release. I mean, I don't know if anywhere that's doing pre-orders is like sold out of pre-orders or anything like that. I haven't heard any news to that effect so far. And especially, as I say, considering Nintendo's historically not great at supporting their hardware in terms of getting enough units ready for launch, I think that could be good or bad news. We just have to wait and see.
I think the grey version's gone on Amazon already. I was looking just before we went on.
I was about to say Amazon would be absolutely inundated with pre-orders, I would imagine.
The coloured,
they usually are around launch.
Yeah, the blue and the red Joy-Cons. Oh, that's a terrible name.
So much anger and angst pent up with it.
that one was still on there.
Does it not bring you joy?
The one thing I would say that I worry about with with the price point, 280 is too much when there's no game packed in with it. If it was 280 with Zelda, fair enough. But it's not, and from
it's like a bundle.
And all the game, I mean, Zelda, all the pre-order links I've seen for Zelda, it's been 60 quid. So that's 340 quid straight away.
Yeah,
it's too much. It's too much for a console where you're not going to get all the big third-party games at launch, I think.
Yeah, I think here in Spain it's like 329 euros with no games. And I remember I paid $240 something for my PS Vita back in the day with Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So that's kind of expensive, and I don't think I will pay that much when you can get an Xbox for $300 or euros.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can get.
It's justifying it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If there were more interesting games in the first 6 months, it would be worth. I think it would be worth it, but for me, it just feels like wait for all the ridiculous Black Friday deals at the moment.
That's gonna be big. That's gonna be big.
I mean, what the one thing I heard was that because of the March launch, that theoretically by Black Friday and Christmas and Mario coming out in particular, they could feasibly cut the price. It would be early, but they could feasibly do that, which would then make it obviously seem like a better deal. So that's something to think about as well. Yeah, from this kind of strategy point of view, because if they go in too low, then they got nowhere to go.
Well, that and strategy from their last two, from the 3DS and from the Wii U, they launched too high. They had to hack the price on both of them eventually. So I don't think that many people will go for it at 280. Honestly, not with what they've shown so far. The Wii U owners, I imagine a lot of them, probably like me, will think, you know what, there's not really anything there until Mario comes out just before Christmas. So I may as well just
it depends how bad they want it. Because I mean, I remember thinking of the like when I got my PlayStation 4. I mean, the price at the time was an amount that I didn't really take into consideration, to be honest, because I wanted the console so bad. I mean, it was $350 retail price that I bought it for, and this was like 2 years ago now, a year and a half, something like that ago. So yeah, this is what I mean. Like, can you justify it as a fan? If you're a diehard fan of Nintendo, you'll have loads of people that are like, yeah, no, I don't mind paying that price. I think it's it's less than
absolutely
PlayStation and stuff.
The diehards will get it, but there's not enough of them left. That's the thing. I think
they're dwindling.
They're all getting old.
Nintendo. Well, it's just any outside of the Wii, they haven't really sold that well their consoles for a long time.
Another element to think about as well is the fact in terms of price, is the fact that all of the like extra controllers and peripherals and stuff like that are also like insanely well, that's certainly what I've been hearing this morning. Like, it's the price of like an extra dock, stuff like that. Let's get another dock, which is basically a charger, which doesn't do anything apart from charge it and are connected to the TV. That's like $90 or something.
It's ridiculous. I've just had a look at the pre-order links on Amazon again, and the Joy-Con, the pair, is 75 quid. That's without the grip.
Oh my god!
The grip's like 25 quid on its own. It's insane.
I think how much they're going to be making with the accessories.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be making a fair amount. Maybe. I mean, there's cases. I've seen cases and stuff. They're going for like £30, something like that. So we've covered the price. We'll talk about the battery life just briefly. So 2.5 hours to between 6 to 6.5 hours battery life. So
pretty vague.
This is obviously, because they say between, obviously what I've just read about it, but about 3 hours battery life when it's taken obviously away from its docking station. So you'd be walking around for 3 hours. Do you think that's good? Like 3 hours is a good baseline, or do you think it should have had a bit more?
Well, assuming that is the figure for like Zelda, I think that was the number that popped up on the presentation when Zelda was playing. You know, I don't.
It said the games will obviously determine its
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
fair
So I
enough,
think
but-
it'll be a bit of a sliding scale. I think realistically there'll be plenty of people who, you know, that isn't sufficient. Like depending on your amount of travel and stuff like that, and how much you're going to use that kind of element of the feature set. I mean, for some people they'll probably use it as a home console, and that'll be that sort of thing. So it won't make that much difference. But I guess thinking about when I typically, you know, get the train or something, it'll be maybe, you know, 2.5 hours train to London and back or something like that. You know, I'm not normally doing like 4 or 8 hour commutes or whatever, which would need so much more. But I think when you think about all the kind of different elements involved, it seems sort of reasonable. But at the same time, I don't know. It's difficult to compare because I mean, what have you got in that sort of price bracket and size that you can compare it to? I mean, like a mobile phone, they last like all day, but if you were playing a game the entire day, then they certainly wouldn't.
Yeah, that's true. Alberto, do you have any thoughts about the battery life?
Well, I expect it to be like the PS Vita. It was supposed to be between 4 and 6 hours, and you pretty much gonna get like 5 if you play heavily. And I use it for like my main use for is traveling. I don't play it at home. I think if I buy a Nintendo Switch, it's gonna be the same thing. Like I go on a journey, I watch a couple of movies, or I play a video game, and I think I could do a whole journey with it, like a whole trip.
I think it's a fair amount. I mean, like Legend of Zelda would be the only reason I'd want to purchase it. But I'd like to be able to get at least 4 or 5 hours personally out of the system. But it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world if it's not, you know, it doesn't reach 4 hours like it, you know, if it says. But I don't know. But yeah, I don't think it's that bad. Seems decent.
I think I don't know. I think anywhere kind of 3 to 6 is fine as long as they don't in 6 months' time say, oh, we're releasing an extra, you know, a new type of battery that will last 10 hours, because they did that with the Wii U and it was just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, they might do that
So,
though, Rob. They might do that.
I'm sure they probably will. It's Nintendo.
Yeah, we'll see. Paid subscription. So they're offering a free trial on launch. Is this an incentive? Do you think this is gonna work from Nintendo? Because obviously, you know, PlayStation have already got their subscriptions, and so does Xbox.
Well,
they're sort of the kingpins of
the trouble is that it's not going to be here at launch in the Europe. That much has been pretty clear. They haven't necessarily outright. I think they have. Well, maybe they have outright said, but certainly it looks like it's going to be North America only at launch. So whenever it will come here, we won't get as much time out of the free trialness of it as America will. But the main argument for me is just that there isn't enough to warrant, particularly to Rob's point before. I mean, there's not enough games as it is, let alone ones that you would then play online multiplayerly anyway, apart from like what Splatoon and what Mario Kart 8. That's probably probably it for 2017.
Yeah, like I think once they put the new NBA game and the new FIFA and the wrestling game, like that we're talking about, the anime wrestling game.
Don't get me started on FIFA.
Like that's gonna be a major selling point for them if they do that properly. They're gonna have all the kids around them.
I'm very sick and tired of seeing FIFA everywhere. It's plagued the Xbox.
It doesn't have a number on it though. Did you notice? It doesn't have a number.
No, I know.
It's like a PS Vita version.
Maybe it's an origin story or something.
Again, I think maybe they'd learnt from the Wii U though.
Yeah, possibly.
In that respect, we'll do one, just call it FIFA, see how well it sells, see how many people actually buy this thing. If it's enough, then we'll do the next one and the next one.
Yeah, they did the same for PS Vita.
Yeah.
They did FIFA 13 and that's it.
Yeah.
So talking just in sort of correspondence to the online element, talk about the multiplayer capacity as well. So it's 8 They're claiming it's 8 multiplayer capacity. I think that's good, but how I can't imagine 8 Nintendo Switches like, guys, come on, let's play I don't know, Odyssey and
NBA 2K18.
Yeah. Like, that seems such a bizarre concept to me. I understand what they're trying to do. It's more of like a social thing.
I think if you go back to the original like launch trailer and the scenarios that they put forward on that, it's going to be limited how much, like you say, how much those sort of situations come up unless you've specifically engineered them that way. I guess it really relies on the kind of strength of the couch co-op. I mean, for Nintendo's credit, they've always been good at coming up with party games, if you like, in terms of creating a atmosphere and a feeling and something which has a really low barrier of entry which people can get into. So from that point of view, I can see it working, but I think mainstream and regularly not so much. I think I doubt you'll find a lot of like you say, people getting together physically, because that's not the way gaming culture works so much anymore. I suppose it really depends on the target market of that kind of feature that they're going for. If they're expecting the kind of 10 to 12-year-old kids to do that, then maybe that's a bit more realistic. But I think probably for kind of an older demographic, you certainly wouldn't.
Taking all this into account, like, I just had a flashback from when I was like 10 years old, going back into the childhood memories of Gabriella. But I'll tell you my whole life story.
Was that like 2 months ago?
But yeah, probably, who knows. But yeah, just because Nintendo, I've more been like sort of Xbox and PlayStation orientated, but did remind me of a time when I was younger and I used to play it with my friend. The sort of multiplayer aspect of the Nintendo DS. Me and my friend used to play that constantly, like after school. Used to play some in the morning, and my mum used to tell me off because I was playing it in the morning. And to me, that was such a novelty as a child. And I don't know whether they're trying to incorporate that same thing, that same multiplayer sort of love, I guess.
Well, no, I agree. I think local multiplayer is the best when it's done right. Best. But when it's going to be, everybody's going to have to spend £280 to get this local multiplayer. It's not 280 for a console and then just extra controllers. It's 280 each. Oh, and you need the game as well. They're not going to get 8 people coming together unless it's at a gaming convention. It's just not.
Well,
it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Maybe at a few private schools.
Unless there's any sort of 3DS like capacity to beam the games across. So so not everyone has to have the title necessarily, because I think that's one of the, if I'm honest, most probably underrated features of the 3D. Well, even back to the DS days, really, even possibly Game Boy Advance. The fact that is something which is possible is and to be honest, it doesn't take too long to download a game either, which is kind of baffling to me still in a way.
I have read that there won't be any Wii U or 3DS sort of cross compatibility, but like you said, possibly like enabling downloads like PlayStation have done would be something maybe enticing in the future for Nintendo players.
I have absolutely no doubt they will, because it's so lucrative for them. Their first party catalog is their gold mine, and they know that. I mean, there's a reason that we're on Mario Kart 8. But even so, if you go back through, even just take Mario Kart as an example, if you go back through the last 5 games, you can find courses from previous games to that in pretty much every one of them, I think. Just because they reuse it in a kind of way that Nintendo gets away with it because they're Nintendo, which is kind of endearing at the same time. But there's no doubt that if they can make money out of it, they will. I mean, I rebought multiple games on Wii Virtual Console, just because because it was there, because they made it available. But I think even so, I think it was Jimquisition last week from Jim Sterling, who he was saying that they do that, but they don't put very many games on there, even though it's possible. It's like a bafflingly small number of games when they could basically be printing money for themselves, which is actually quite an interesting point. So the fact that they haven't come out with this at the outset is interesting, because if you think about Microsoft as well, they've only got around, if you like, to the backwards compatibility side of it when Phil Spencer took over. And even then that seemed late, but now it's really thriving. Like half the people who play on Xbox One play backwards compatible games, and that's it's a sign of the times to an extent, sure, but Nintendo will no doubt make the most of that.
And
hopefully they've got something in the works.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's been so many rumors that they're going to do GameCube Virtual Console. If they had something like that ready for launch as well, because at the moment all we know for sure is Zelda and 1-2 Switch, and maybe a couple of Ubisoft titles. Like if they had that as well.
Don't forget about Just Dance. Don't forget about Just Dance 2017.
Oh, I won't forget. Don't you worry. The only other thing I would say, having an actual Wii U, is, are the games that I've downloaded on that, are they going to carry across, like the Virtual Console games, when it does turn up? Are they going to carry across, or is it going to be the same thing again, where the games that I had on the Wii, download titles, I had to pay for them again? Not as much. They give you a discount, but you still have to pay for it twice, and it's just like, that wouldn't happen on PlayStation or on Xbox.
If they think they can get away with it, they will.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that they'll make you pay again.
And I think it will be. Honestly, I think it will be the same thing again. I think it will be, okay, this is the third time you've bought Super Mario World off us. You can pay another £2 for the privilege to have it again.
Chris, does cross compatibility appeal to you, or is it something that's not really a necessity?
I mean, in terms of the Switch, it would probably be the deciding factor on whether I bought it, really. Nintendo have got a good back catalogue, and I would definitely want to play some of them, as well as some of the newer stuff. And I mean, Skyrim, that's pretty big boost to them, I reckon.
Yeah,
it's a fairly old game, but I think it's probably kind of the first of its kind on a Nintendo system.
I'll just read Sam's kind of going back a bit. He's talking about online here. It says, do Nintendo have the breadth of multiplayer games to justify charging for online? Seems like it'd be easy to live without looking at their track record. We talked about this very briefly earlier on. The colour variation, the red, they got the blue, and obviously got like the black sort of chrome colour. Is this an appeal factor? Is this something that you'd be like, I quite like that?
Share the joy, Rob. Share the joy.
I think they could make.
Tell us your thoughts.
I'm putting my new Mario hat on, complete with eyes, and I'm thinking, why isn't there a Zelda themed version?
Oh, that'd be so
they
good.
could easily charge an extra. They could charge an extra 20-30 quid for that, no problem. That's a bit extra money there.
That's such a good idea. I've never thought
a fair
about that.
point.
My goodness, that'd be so good.
They did that. Well, they had so many different 3DS variants, so many different ones. Every time there was a new big major first-party game, it was, let's have another limited run that we
feel
can
like
charge
that was one of the reasons that
plus
they.
for.
You feel like that was one of the reasons that they redesigned the 3DS in the first place and released a new one. It was like the back. Yeah. Quick, we need to have something which we can put back and front plates on.
So yeah, I don't know. I obviously just being cynical again, because everybody does this. PlayStation, and no, you can't just have black controllers. We want red ones. We want blue ones. Xbox, the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree. I mean, I went for the grey version from Amazon this morning, not just because that was the only one available at the time, but partly because of the fact that there's just no draw for me, I guess, with it. So it's kind of odd, because I think to just have the one color option is like Rob was saying, kind of weird, because there are so many. You could go completely mad with it, which makes you wonder if they're doing it to kind of help their production side of things not be, because if you did like every color, you could quickly be like, well, everyone wants Pikachu yellow ones or whatever, and we can't get any more Pikachu yellow. We've used it. Yeah, call the Splatoon guys, get some paint over here. But no, like, it feels like maybe for if you think about launch, these sorts of things in like custom consoles are a good example. For like Xbox and stuff like that, they almost always come along like afterwards. I would not be surprised if they had something specific for Mario when it comes out holiday 2017.
Yeah. The one thing I would say that I thought was very strange with this compared to the original like announcement trailer. The announcement trailer had lots of incredibly wealthy like 20 somethings in it, and now all of a sudden it was definitely seemed to be aimed at kids and teenagers and families again.
Yeah,
it just seemed really confused.
I said that in the October podcast. I was like, do you think it's going to be more geared towards a family audience, or do you think it's going to be sort of a teenage sort of genre? Because we weren't too sure at that time, but it seems, you're right, it seems like they're sort of going towards that sort of that age group.
I suppose if you think about it from a marketing point of view, it really depends on whether you think that you need to capture that audience or not.
Yeah,
because basically the audience that they originally pitched to with the announcement trailer, as you say, was different, but they were trying to make a different first impression. Now, they've got some substance to put behind it. They can't kind of continue to say, we're the hippest, coolest kids on the block, and these are all the super cool games you 20-somethings are going to play, because like it's not going to wash. Like you've got to kind of play to your strengths, I guess. And I think that as much as they may have played a different card at the beginning, you can see their hand quite clearly.
They've had time though, if you think about it, because they've sort of remained in the shadows for a while. They've been releasing bits, but they haven't been as sort of vocal as...
That sounds creepy.
Yeah, I know. They haven't been as like vocal as PlayStation or Xbox, because they dominate. Xbox and PlayStation do sort of dominate the like E3 and Eurogamer and places like that. It's obvious that they've had time to sort of to digest what their audiences wanted, because they've had time to sort of process and change things and get player feedback. And for the most part, I mean, most of the reviews I've been seeing, it's been relatively positive. So I'm happy for the Nintendo players that they're happy.
It was kind of the most endearing part of the presentation for me was at the very, very beginning. They talked about how all of their previous controllers in particular, but the systems as well, had informed their design and vision for the Switch. Because
I agree with you on that.
Because I think when they kind of called them out, I was like, you may be rewriting history here with this, and I know exactly what you're doing, but nonetheless, it does make a lot of sense. They play on their heritage a lot, but at the end of the day, it's Nintendo. I mean, they've been going since the beginning. It's Sega's just software now, and where's the Commodore 64, and where's all of these different companies? They don't exist anymore. But Nintendo is still kind of there, and they're present, and they are a recognizable brand worldwide. I mean, there's a reason that I think I might have said this before, but there was a reason that they had the president of Japan dress up as Mario when he came and collected the torch at the Olympics. The more that they do actually genuinely do what they're saying that they have done, and learn from their mistakes and kind of move forward, then the better. But I think at the same time, there's an air of caution in my head where I'm like, well, fair enough, you may say this, but at the same time, you can see kind of the little, just as Rob said, you can see the seeds of them making some of the same irking mistakes as the past. And I think just like any company, there'll be kind of some wins and some losses.
I think the thing for me on all they need is, as long as they've got good games, people will buy it. And they've just got so many great like fringe IPs that they could be using. You know, like Christmas, make another 1080 game, make it a download game, charge 20 quid for it. Like, you know, make it. It doesn't have to be an open world game. You can make it like the original, have 10 stages kind of thing. People will still buy it if it's the right price and it's made well.
Yeah.
I want to see that from them, as well as, you know, the best game that I've played on the Wii U is Splatoon, because it's new. I've played Mario 100 times, 100 million times. Same with Zelda. Like, I mean, obviously Breath of the Wild looks amazing, but still, I've been to those kind of places before. You know, I want to go to new ones as well.
Just going back to the design element of the Nintendo Switch, just made me think briefly about the Xbox E3 conference when Microsoft announced the design labs for the, you know, like where you could create your own colors of controllers and things like that. And I personally loved that element of it. So yeah, I think just overall, I think it's good that they're incorporating some color to their console. But like James said, it would be good to have like variations of it, like Xbox are doing. Sam briefly said red blue Joy-Cons don't look good against the grey black of the console. Grip and dock could also harm portability, as you'd likely be reluctant to pull something that looks like a Fisher-Price tablet out in public. So that's Sam's view of it. We'll move.
Not a fun then, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we'll move swiftly on. We'll talk about some of the games. So we've talked about them briefly. So we've got Breath of Wild. We've got Mario Odyssey. We'll talk about Mario actually, because that seems to be like one of the focal points as well as Zelda. Am I the only one that got the impression of like a GTA feel? I've seen so many memes like just circling the internet. I have to show you guys a picture. I'll probably insert it in this podcast. Hopefully no copyright infringement intended. But it's just hilarious. It's
Nintendo will not thank us.
Oh, I know, they won't. But it's somebody created like this this GTA. It was set in the GTA universe, but they sort of put Mario, like Photoshop Mario into it. I'll have to show you guys.
It looked to me, and it reminds me of Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast. I'm looking at it. There was like a city.
That is a great shout. That is a great shout
on that as well. Like even the graphical style was pretty similar, honestly.
If they don't have City Escape though, then you know that's you know they've missed a trick really. It's all about the soundtrack with that's Sonic Adventure 2, but still.
Oh, yes. You gotta have
as
that.
well. The soundtrack on the first one was cracking, to be fair. And the whole bit with the killer whale. I digress.
That's what we do around here.
Yeah.
Alberto, are you much of a Mario fan?
Well, I mean, I like him as a friend. I don't think I will go out with him. But
have a few beers.
If he bought me a few drinks once in a while, maybe.
Yeah. Like I like Mario, but I've never been good at it or enjoyed the game that much. I don't know. It's a weird experience to have with Mario. Dark stories.
We'll talk about FIFA very briefly. Like James said earlier, it's not FIFA anything.
The bits, yeah. If they just take the bits of FIFA that people like and make it really easily accessible to new players, then they've got a winner, really, because FIFA's one of the most recognizable franchises for gaming on the planet, up there with Call of Duty and the rest of it, really, in terms of, I mean, I think it's not necessarily the same audience as we would necessarily see and recognize as gamers, quote unquote, but there's no doubt that there's a massive audience for FIFA. I mean, and Pro Evo to an extent, but more so FIFA, I think, particularly at the certain age demographic. They've hit the nail on the head so many times with that. So just to kind of branch that out into a slightly more arcadey, possibly, you know, probably the aesthetic will still be the same in terms of going for the realism and, you know, laser scanning in different stadiums or whatever. I don't know, but if you know how successful the FIFA bundle for the Xbox One was at the very beginning, that was a massive seller, not just because it was only one of the few bundles available, but because it's such a recognizable game, and like grandma who wants to buy their relative a game, it's like, oh, let's football or whatever, or soccer or whatever.
Yeah,
it's an easy thing that people can understand. When you see like crazy explosions and like people hacking up bits of dirt with pixelated pickaxes and stuff like that, then they're like, what is this game? So
I think there's something to be said as well for FIFA. A lot of people love football, and because of that, it's like a good casual game, and they need a big casual market if they want to sell a lot. So to have stuff like that on board, I think is
that's
essential.
what we'll get. That's what will get Nintendo the money, so that they can do all the crazy shit that what you want them to do, Rob.
Exactly.
But then all those fringe franchises.
But then I want the sports games as well. I'm a massive sports.
You want it
games
both
player,
ways,
so I want that stuff as well.
Yeah.
You can't have it all.
Maybe if the EA guy had come on and said, we're going to do more sports games, then you would have been like, oh, wait a second. Maybe there is something here after all.
I would have rather Konami had come on and said, we're gonna do a new ISS game.
Oh, yes.
That would have made me happy.
That would have been so good.
Oh, my God. That's
even an ISS. What? The first one on the Nintendo 64 that had the commentary. The commentary was worth the price on its own.
Oh yes,
it was.
If they could remaster that would be incredible.
1-2 Switch.
Oh, this should be bundled with the console. This should be bundled with the console.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically Wii Play. I mean, if I compare it to the Wii, and it's natural to do so, it is Wii Play. It should certainly not be full price, but it really should be bundled with the console. But I mean, as I said before, I think if you can compress that and ARMS together into a kind of starter Switch pack, 1, 2, 3 Switch perhaps, then that would have been more compelling. I know, but I mean, people have been like immediately making fun of the fact that it's like 1, 2 Switch is the launch day lineup, 1 game, 2 game, and the Switch. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think you always gonna, because it's Nintendo and they have their eccentricities, and that's why we love them to an extent as well. There's always going to be that element of crazy random stuff that people don't necessarily get and play with once and probably forget about, but there's maybe a few bits in there that might be a bit of fun at a drunken party or whatever, or family Christmas or something like that. But I don't know, I don't see it going very far. I don't see it having legs.
Chris, do you agree?
I sort of like the kind of shoot the other person aspect.
When you're really drunk in a party.
Anything with death. Who's gonna get the next drink? I'll draw you.
Yeah, that will be amazing.
Pretty good.
But anything, any disagreement you have, we'll just shoot for it. I thought it was great.
He's truly a man of the people. To be fair though, isn't that just like naturally how they settle disputes in Newcastle anyway? Right?
It's just common
they're just not on a game.
I'm from Sunderland, actually.
Oh no.
I know.
A bit more civilized way.
Quick, think of a comeback. Quick.
I don't need to. I know how easy it is to push the regional bias button.
I have a question about the trailer, because there's a shaving game in the 1-2 Switch.
The shaving game. Oh yeah.
Yes.
There's a shaving game and a milking game.
Yes, that is worrying. So the milking one, I think I can explain. Okay, so I played a mobile game which I believe does a similar thing, whereby you take it in turns and you have to basically fill up a container to the top without spilling it. So you effectively kind of hold your finger down on the touchscreen or whatever it might be, and liquid comes out of a carton, above.
So you're not
and then you stop
like milking a cow.
at a certain point. Not as far as I know, but from the screenshot that I've seen of that exact mini game, that's what it reminded me of. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like that.
I'm just so confused.
You're quite right to be. I mean, to be honest, what they should have done is embraced the zany mentalness of it, and not done 1-2 switch, but done a WarioWare switch, and
that would be good.
Gone that route, and compressed all of that stuff down. Not tried to make it more than it was, but made it a collection of crazy random shit. And people would have been like, "What the hell is this?" But at the same time, it would have given you an opportunity to show off, all these different things. I think that was one of the best things about WarioWare on the Wii, was that every time you started a new mini game, it was like the pestle and mortar, or the grate some cheese, or whatever the hell it is, all of that stuff. And you're like, I had no concept of trying to use a Wiimote in this fashion, but well done, Nintendo, well done, frankly. So I think that would have been, for me, that would have been more compelling. I would definitely have be picking up on launch, that game on launch, if it was WarioWare and it was, it was fully embracing that element of it. To me, at the moment, it's, as I say, it's falling short.
Okay, so Sam has said...
Very diplomatic, I thought, there, Jen.
Yes, very, very, very
You're
welcome.
Said.
Very well said, sir. Sam briefly said... Sam said he could see it being used for a team building, icebreaking, and ultimately reaching a wider audience like some Wii and DS games, but it's a brief novelty and a paid tech demo. And he says in brackets that perhaps should have been bundled, as James has said. So yeah, I completely agree. I think it should have been, or hopefully will be, a bundled item with the Nintendo Switch on launch day. So we'll see.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did decide to, but at the same time, it feels like they've done it so deliberately separately, and it's not like it's called the Switch in the title, but I suppose if anything was going to be bundled, it would be that.
I can't believe, I don't know, I'm looking here and on all the pre-order prices of 40 quid for it. I can't believe anybody's going to pay 40 quid for that. It looks like garbage, honestly.
Like you said, the diehard fans, man, like they will, like if they'll get whatever they can get their hands on.
It's the diehard fans.
I think
quintessential Nintendo gamer.
I've got a few friends who are like real hardcore, but I'll be very disappointed in them if they buy that game. Because it looks absolutely appalling.
We need to band together and buy it for Rob for Christmas.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. Watch your mailbox at Christmas. Seriously, watch it very closely.
just for the sheer novelty value, and then we'll make him go put it through his paces.
We want video footage of you opening it as well and seeing your reaction. Okay.
I think it's like the gaming equivalent of like dad dancing. That's what it feels like. Even the box art, if what they've got up on the internet is what they go with, even
don't you think that must be the guy who was dressed up in a lab coat at the Splatoon presentation, and everything was in everything was in character. That was a beautiful moment. That was a beautiful moment for me.
I didn't know how to react to that.
It was great.
That's the point of it, isn't it? You're just like, what's happening?
I was like, it's like when they put Pokemon Go updates out, and then they do it in the style of like, the professor has discovered new Pokemon or something like that, and you're like, no, just tell me what you're updating. When it's like they will, and even at the Splatoon 2 section of the thing, they were like, there will still be turf war, and there will be other things, and you're like, that doesn't tell me anything. What are you here for?
It literally tells you nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm with you, and to address the point you made towards the beginning, Rob, I think for you as a Wii U gamer, you are absolutely correct that there is just nothing at this point to make it compelling enough. Even if I was in your position, I would be absolutely agree. In terms of that, but basically, what I'm doing, one of the reasons that I did go for the pre-order was it's effectively a Wii U do-over for me because
exactly.
I haven't played any of these games, so I'm happy to see them experience them for the first time, which is fine. And
yeah, I'd feel the same if I was in that position.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing in terms of whether there's been plenty of coverage about how Wii U sales have been poor, as we've already mentioned. But it really depends on whether that market of people who are, have been sticking it out and are now not being rewarded for it are going to be, insignificant enough a number to kind of not have any impact or offset the potential people who would be going for it at launch otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in summary of everything we've spoken about, do you think that this is this the glorified comeback for Nintendo? We'll start with Chris. What do you think?
Ooh.
Do you think this is a smack in the face to PlayStation and Xbox? And do you think it was a good comeback?
I would like to be really positive about it, but no, there's too many things which I'm just not sold on the idea. I think maybe in a couple of years when the price drops and there's a lot more third-party games on it, will be worth it. But at the minute, quite happy with my Xbox.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here. Yeah.
Mario looks good and the whole shooting people thing, but
yeah. What about you, Alberto? Do you think this is a good entry? Have Nintendo come back?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope this is the time that we stop talking crap about Nintendo. I'll be like, Nintendo's gonna die. This is like the worst thing ever. I think now is the time that we go, this is a good thing. And we have something to work with. If they put games for it and it is awesome like it looks like, I'm up for it.
I think they've been silent for so long. It's good to see that they have been working on something. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Welcome to my first games console. Complete with bright colours.
I don't know. I just think 280 is too much, and that's gonna kill them at launch. Honestly, I think that's gonna kill them. If they can drop it at Christmas, then they might have a chance to get to a reasonable enough figure that they can continue to sustain themselves. But it's not all doom and gloom, obviously.
It's not all doom and gloom,
especially when you have that many colours in all of your games. But at launch, I just think it's too rich. It's too rich.
Mm-hmm. James, tell us your thoughts. Tell us what's on your mind.
Well, I think I've said quite a lot. I think from the kind of first reveal with the trailer last year, it's been clear that Nintendo have, gone about this in a kind of more modern way than they probably have in the past, in terms of really trying to play the game with the marketing a little bit more, trying to kind of get a bit more involved with it, And I think even this Direct, as much as it was still classic, cringeworthy, cheesy, all of the above in terms of what you'd expect from a Nintendo event, they did kind of do themselves proud by, they held it in Tokyo, they did it, they led, everything was like being translated. They didn't pander to an American audience, so they didn't pander to like any specific market. They jumped about a bit, and it was not a kind of making overblown promises type event. It's not, they didn't say that this will be the last Nintendo console and you'll never need to buy another one or anything like that. They didn't kind of come out and make grand promises about backwards compatibility or whatever. They said safe. What they and that's what when they do that well, that's their strength. They may make a good impression. For me personally, as I say, I was a big gamer on Nintendo from the N64 days through to and including the Wii, and had plenty of love for the GameCube as well, because that was kind of my formative years of gaming in many ways. And I think for me, my circumstances now have changed in that I'm now more grown up, but also, you know, living circumstances and stuff like that. So this won't be my main source of entertainment from a gaming point of view, because I have my Xbox One, and later in the year, no doubt, an Xbox Scorpio as well, or instead of, probably.
Yeah,
let's be
it'll
realistic.
just be an addition, something with it.
Yeah, so it will be something which, you know, particularly when more party games come along, there will be a Mario Party, there will be other stuff like that. It won't be this year for sure, but you know, that sort of stuff is, again, Nintendo's bread and butter, and we can rely on it to an extent. And it's an easy thing to kind of pick up and play. That sort of convenience of the way that, you know, you put games out there, and with first party titles in particular, you know, you can rely on Nintendo's quality, and I think that's probably they play that strong suit again and again, but you know, they keep impressing. Zelda looks interesting. I've not ever, apart from possibly A Link to the Past, never completed successfully a Zelda game. Most memorably when I failed to find the sail in Wind Waker, which is, if you played the game, quite an important element. And you know, to go back into that with a kind of more kind of mature perspective was quite exciting, but at the same time, to have the kind of couch co-op elements is going to be really good as well. There's plenty that can still go wrong, no doubt. You know, the online services stuff, Nintendo has always been crap at online stuff. You know, it's always been a mess. It's always been clunky, and like the interfaces look awful, stuff like that.
We'll see with the Nintendo Switch. We'll see. If
that's
they make
that's it. So
yeah,
I think all in all, it's a good stab, and it will hit the mark for many people. It will be wait and see for others, and you know, others will just never ever be on the Nintendo train no matter what. So I think, considering the market at the moment, and you know, the way that the world is all doom and gloom, it's quite nice to have something cheery and optimistic and done pretty well. You know, we'll have to see in March really, but
that reminds me, I still have Ocarina of Time to finish. Thanks for that, James. It's reminded me all the list of games I got to complete. Just some final thoughts from Sam. He said, it's clear Nintendo didn't really do enough for me on the software front. You can have all the gimmicks in the world, but games are integral, and on that front they didn't quite deliver as I had liked them to. So we'll wrap this up here. We hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. Let us know. Will you be purchasing the Switch on launch day? Do you share James's enthusiasm? Feel free to leave us some comments below. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and of course our YouTube channel for more updates on the Switch itself and for other gaming news. James, would you like to say a fair farewell?
A fond farewell.
A fond farewell. That's what I was saying. Fond farewell.
Well, I will turn it on its head and say welcome to anyone who is listening to us ramble on for the first time, and whether you're part of our illustrious community for some time. I'm taking the Nintendo approach. Whether you've been part of our community for some time or you're new, you are very welcome, and hopefully you enjoyed, and absolutely shout at us on Twitter and all that jazz.
Rob.
Oh, goodbye everybody, and Taxman, if you're listening, this is the £400 dinner that I'm claiming for. Thank you.
Amazing. Alberto, would you like to say goodbye?
Well, goodbye everyone. Overwatch is calling me.
Overwatch is calling me. I've still yet to play that. I need to play that. Chris.
Such a great game.
Catch you in a bit, you what?
Alfred Hitchcock there.
Awesome.
That is how you do it. That's how you do it in Newcastle.
Mastermind.
Thank you guys for watching. We will catch you next time. Bye for now.